Hello everybody and welcome to the penultimate round of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge here for Season 11. We've got Nurburgring and Spa to go and only 2.5 hours of racing before we are finished with this championship now. One out of the three of the categories are now settled. Another one can be, well they both can be here tonight, but one is very likely to be in the form of GT Pro. Let's see if it happens though over the next hour. My name is Ewan O'Leary, I'll be alongside Steve Proudly once again. And Steve, we're really getting to the business end of this championship now. LMP2 is still tight as ever, still as exciting as ever. GTM is already sewn up. GT Pro is on the verge of being sewn up, with Ross Booth on the verge of becoming an Autobahn Sportscar Challenge champion in about an hour's time.
Yeah, howdy Ewan, good to be back, and some good racing though still to be had tonight. I think there's plenty of places to fight over, and I think there's a few points to be gained, and they're all races, so it doesn't matter if the championship's sewn up or not, does it? They're still going to race for the win, so I'm looking forward to some good action round Nurburgring, because there's some fast sections here, technical sections as ever, but there's some good overtaking opportunities to be had as well, if you can get the lines just right. I think it's going to be busy with traffic round here though as well tonight.
It could well be. It says at the top left there, Nürburgring Grand Prix, no chicane. It's not quite true, but I do get the point. It's the fast chicane that they use in, well, I don't know if they're still doing in the WEC or whatever, but anyway, it's the fast chicane here, not the slow one that's been used for Formula 1 down the years, and indeed a couple of years ago. So we do have a chicane, it's just quite quick. But you get the point. Also the GP circuit, not the full North Life, you'll be glad to know. This is the Gtm Standings, and Ryan Robertson, as you can see there, has an unassailable lead. What's that, 77 points in his favour at this stage. He's got a lot over Trent Brown. He has been crowned our champion. As you can see, a load of drivers have competed in that category here this season, hence why a very long list. As an equally long list in GT overall, GT Pro as well, because Ross Booth is at the top of it right now. He has got 64 points over Ryan Rozewski, who needs to gain 22 points on him today to even keep it alive. However, I don't think he is entered onto the server just yet. Let's hope he does before qualifying and the race begins. However, he does need to gain some points today. As you can see, all of these guys are very much out of it at this point. A lot of drivers on the list, as I say. And of course LMP2, which is the closest of them all. We still have 3 drivers that can win this title. Billy Smith, Carter Cunningham, Robert Tinsey. Their gap between Smith and Cunningham is 17 points, 30 back to Tinsey. So they will need to gain some points. Tinsey needs to gain at least 4 over Smith to keep his hopes alive going into the final race at Spa, which is a 1 hour and a half affair. The problem that Cunningham has got, he's only 17 points back, and he's probably the most realistic challenger to Billy Smith. The problem he does have is that this point system doesn't allow you to gain points that quickly. So while Cunningham did have a good race last time out, he was stronger than Smith the entire way through. He got second place in the race. He only gained 4 points, which at this end of the season for him is really not enough.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Cunningham's just got to do what he's been doing though. He's been consistent all season, and to be fair, he's had a strong season, obviously running in that second place in the championship now. So all he can do is go for the win, but you know, just keep it on the tarmac. And you know, other cars may come into play that may be mishaps. We don't want to see that, but I think realistically that's the only way Cunningham's going to get the championship, because as you say, just can't gain a massive amount of points at any of the rounds unless there's a DNF. But for me, Ryan Robertson, I mean, obviously he's now the AM champion, but if you look at the GT points overall, he's actually in 6th place overall with the GT, so that's an awesome performance from him this season. We've sung his praises at every round pretty much, but I think deservedly so, and he's been pretty quick in the BMW, often challenging those GT Pro drivers.
And I reckon he could get top 3 this season. If you look at the gaps up to Christopher Payes, he's only got 9 points behind him, then another 12 to Haley, then another 4 to Paul Gibson, who is currently on pole in this race, I might add. But I still think Ryan Robertson could very well get a top 3 finish in the GT overall category. If our categories are formed in the same way next season, I can have a guess that he might well be in the Pro category, and he will hold himself very well if indeed those two things do happen, because of course who knows what's going to happen in the future there. As I say, Ryan Rozewski is not in the order at the moment, can't see him, so at the moment we are going to see Ross Booth crowned champion without even beginning the race. Yeah, your point about Cunningham there is very true, just needs to keep doing what he's doing. But even if he wins this race, Billy Smith would need to finish 10th or lower to lose the championship lead. That is how much of a bad day he would need to have. He can indeed get 2 decent placings and still win. 2 top 4s would be good enough for him to clinch the championship, with Carter Cunningham even winning both of those races and scooping up all the points along the way. It would still not be enough for him, I'm afraid. However, you never know what could happen, especially at Spa, I might add, for the final race. It's an hour and a half race. We enjoyed the one a few weeks ago at Le Mans, a 90-minute race, and we've got a final one at Spa. So this championship looks like it's going to go down to the wire, thankfully. But Smith certainly has matters in his own hands.
Yeah, and it just goes to show, looking at the live timings at the moment for the guys on the server, that we have got a depleted field, unfortunately, but the prototypes at the moment, they've got pretty much 11 cars on the track at the moment. It's the GTs where we've got it thinned out a little bit, because obviously, as we said, those championships are pretty much over, so it's the prototypes all to play for, all to battle for, and I think that's where the eyes are going to be fixed tonight, with that battle there. It's Cunningham. He's not going to win this championship. I don't think realistically he's got a chance at the moment. As you say, too much rests upon Billy Smith, and Billy Smith, as much as he'll want to fight for the win, like you say, he'll have done the maths. He knows what he has to do. He just has to stay out of trouble and finish the race. He doesn't even need to pick up big points, like you say. If he finishes in the top sort of 6-7, that's good enough for him, and he can potentially win the championship from there with only one more race after this one.
Yeah, if Cunningham loses 10 points or more today, by the way, then the championship will go no further. It will be crowned here today. But Tinsey also, by the way, does need to gain 4 points, as I mentioned, on Smith. So he's going to have to put in a good performance there to manage that. But once again, I feel like we're saying this every single time we come to the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, but it is true once more. Jeffrey Humes is on pole position, and it's happened week after week after week. He's only been off of pole once since the race back at Mid-Ohio. That was a very long time ago now. That's an astonishing amount of pole positions. He's been or by the end of the season, I think he will have been at 9 of the last 10 races, and the way he's going at the moment, he will have been on pole for every single one of them. So another remarkable record. And it's not just the fact that he is on pole every time, it's the margin he has. 0.6 of a second is absolutely huge. The next 6 would get you down outside of the top 5. That is how impressive Ooms has been in this qualifying session once again for about 8th, 9th week in a row. It's unbelievable, really.
Yeah, let's not forget, Ooms, he's one of the drivers that potentially he's, without battling for the championship, he's playing a part in taking points away from the championship contenders at the moment, because, yes, in qualifying he is by far the fastest. He's had some unlucky incidents in a couple of races, but he's been pretty successful at the races as well, and taking points away from them. So, even if Cunningham's in front of Smith, the chances are he's not going to be fighting for that win. So he's not going to score maximum points. But Cunningham's going to have one eye over his shoulder as well at Tinsey, because let's not forget, he's not going to want to lose second place. As much as he wants to win the championship, he's still got that second place to protect from Tinsey, who's in striking distance of catching him. If Cunningham does something silly, has a bad race or has a crash, losing a lot of positions, then that second place could also come under threat, and it could be more about defence rather than attack for Cunningham.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. 13 points currently coming into today, and let's remind you, we're talking about the point system, but you also get a point for pole position, point for fastest lap, and a point for getting no incidents at all out here on the out here during the race. That is going to be exceptionally difficult at Spa, because it is so easy to get an off track there. It's like trying not to breathe during the day, to be honest. That's how difficult it is. It's not going to happen, put it that way, especially over a 90-minute race. So things are getting more and more difficult for those trying to gain positions. Only 30 seconds remaining in this qualifying session then, and I can't really see anybody improving, although, as I say, that Cameron Bidwell just that gets up into second position, just 4 tenths away from Jeffrey Hughes, pushes down Billy Smith and Robert Tinsey in the order. Dominic Turnenberg looks like he is going on a bit of a hot lap at the moment as well. We'll see if he can gain any positions. Needs a couple of attempts to get up into 7th, but he's not going to find them. He'll go into the pit lane, and it looks like everybody else is going to run out of time. Time has expired. Over the line for a couple like Dan Neese, who's back into the top 5. It's been a while since we've been able to say that, although we've seen flashes of good driving from him once again, but not too much from him ever since. We keep mentioning this every week, really. His first 3 races were astonishing, but after that it really has been disappointing, with maybe the exception of Motegi, where he got a top 5, but that is it for the rest of the season for him.
Yeah, he's another one that's been caught up in a few incidents, and as you said, we've talked about him pretty much at every round, because Dan Neese, I think he has got a good turn of speed, but he seems to be a bit of a crash magnet in some circumstances. He's had run-ins with GT cars, he's had run-ins with prototypes, and he's just had accidents on his own, so he's tried it always, but yeah, he's definitely got some pace, and he's a quick driver, but he just needs to try and stay out of bother. But at the moment he's ahead of Carter Cunningham, so Carter Cunningham, the second place man, not having the greatest of qualifying and giving himself quite a bit of work to do, considering Billy Smith's up in 3rd place at the moment and Tinsey's in 4th, so his two rivals are ahead of him very much.
Certainly are. In terms of the one championship we haven't talked about so far, and we don't do the maths for this on air, you'll be pleased to know, it's the Teams Championship, of course, which is basically you have one driver per class. You have a driver in each class, so you have a 3-man team. See what I mean? The average of those points are taken from those. That is the correct order. I know it says 0 points, but that is the correct order. And there, the points. Satellite Racing are leading it with both of their teams, 1 and 2, at the moment. So yeah, it is mathematically possible that their second team can overtake their first, or if you see what I mean, but not likely. The second team would need to basically win in all 3 categories, and that is all the stars. For all of the stars to align there, it is pretty unlikely. So it does look like Satellite Racing are going to defend their team's championship that they got in season 10 with De Vries, Rozewski, Booth, Ryan Robertson, and Major as well. So yeah, bigger teams back in their day, but still defending the title are Satellite Racing once again, no matter which way it goes, because it's going to go to a Satellite Racing car, no matter which team it is going to be. Qualifying is over here at the Nurburgring. Carter Cunningham put in a late lap there to get into the top 5, by the way, and there are 4 drivers who haven't qualified, but we'll get to see them on the grid here in a few moments' time. And here it is. Jeffrey Humes and Cameron Bidwell are going to be on the front row together. Billy Smith, championship leader, is going to be on the second row, sharing it with third place man Robert Tinsey. Carter Cunningham rounds out the top 5. Dan Neese just outside of it, with Leif Peterson 1.4 seconds back. Dominic Turnenberg will line up in 8th. Daniel News and Luke Carbonu round out the top 10, with Chris Sherburn and Patrick McDaniel, who didn't set a lap time in that session, rounding out your LMP2 grid. Moving on to GT Pro, and it's Paul Gibson and Young Park on the front row together. Mo Islam very close in attendance, those two 1, 2 and 3 in the overall as well. David A. Williams, the reigning LMP2 champion, has switched over to the GT Pros. Nico Kopko rounds at the top 5. Champion in waiting Ross Booth will be 6th at a Paul Slavanik, and Mark Kudrowski rounding out your 8-car grid for the Pros. And in AM, it is Ryan Robertson lining up alongside Franco Margrella. Robert Cast and Luke Smith are going to be on the second row, Sheldon Rosenberg rounding out the top 5. Bradley Salmon next, ahead of David Parry. Trent Brown is 2.7s back and looking to consolidate, and should consolidate second place in the championship once again today. Sean Rees is 9th, ahead of Ian Lake and Dale Green, who neither of those set a lap time in that session. So 31 cars on the grid here today. And unlike Imola last time, I do actually think that the traffic is going to be a little bit easier to deal with around here. The track's a little bit wider, first of all, but also, if you think about this circuit and you really break it down, it really is little sections of chicanes. Obviously, you've got the Mercedes Arena for the first 4 corners, that's a bit of a palaver. But then you've got 4 and 5, that's just a chicane. And then you've got a straight. Turn 7, a hairpin, and then you've got a straight. And then you've got another chicane, and then another straight. And then another chicane, and then another straight. And then you can guess what happens next. It's a chicane and another straight before the final corner. There is a lot of chances.
I can see a pattern coming to that, Ewan. Yeah, there's a corner, then a straight.
Exactly. There's a lot of chances. Think about Imola, though. It is constant corners. You're basically never not turning at that circuit, which makes lapping very difficult. Around here, though, I do feel like it's a bit easier because it is chicanes and straights the whole way.
Yeah, there's not as much undulation, and where there is the undulation, there's not as many blind apexes. You know, you can see what's going on. Like you say, the track's a lot wider as well, and we know those prototypes, they can turn it around the GT cars with so much more downforce. They can alter their line relatively easy to get by the GT cars, and with a smaller grid this evening as well. Hopefully, we should see some good clean racing, because it would be a shame for an accident to decide the outcome of the championship. Let's just see some good racing. Hopefully it'll go down to Spa, but let's see. I'm hoping so.
Yeah, we certainly are hoping for that championship finale in 2 weeks' time, as the final drivers get themselves gridded up. One thing that isn't going to help the traffic, and one thing that isn't going to help overtaking particularly either, is the fact that we're using the fast chicane. I mentioned it earlier on that we're not going to be banging down the gears and going through that very clumsy final slow chicane. We're going through the fast version of that, where you basically just dip it down a gear and hope for the best into those couple of corners. That is going to make overtaking a little bit more difficult around here, and maybe lap traffic as well, especially if you're an LMP2 following a GT into there. You've got to remember how much more downforce you have compared to those GTs, because you can very easily accidentally run into the back of a GT just unexpectedly because they've got so much less grip.
Yeah, that chicane could still, even though it's the fast chicane, it could still be an accident hotspot this evening, because it's all too tempting to take the curb, and if you hit that curb just a bit too hard, taking too much speed, your car can soon be facing the wrong way. So it's they're still going to have to be cautious through there. But yeah, I agree, it's not going to help them overtake, because it's not as much of a braking zone. But I think, like you say, you're right. There is plenty of places to overtake. It's wide enough track, less cars on track. So I think everyone's going to get round relatively easily. It's just going to be a case of who they're fighting, and hopefully the racing's going to be clean. And it'd be nice to see some of those older names, like I said, Dan Neese. It'd be nice to see him have a good result tonight and try and get up into that top 5, top 4 even, and bring it home there. Mo Islam in the GTs in turn, it'd be nice to see him come through, and he's shown some good pacing at some of the tracks. He's not been as consistent. He's had some bad rounds as well, but he's had some pretty good rounds and shown a good turn of speed at times.
Yeah, absolutely. Are we going to see Paul Gibson once again? Obviously, last time out he got pole and dropped away a little bit. Are we going to see him convert on this occasion, or are we going to see a new winner in the form of Mo Islam or Young Park as well, who would also be a new winner on this one? Neither of them have actually other than last or 2 weeks ago, when Young Park finally got that elusive podium. Neither of them have won a race. Mo Islam hasn't finished on the GT overall podium just yet either. So it'll be good to see those guys doing well.
And where's Ryan Robinson going to finish in the GT overall tonight as well? Is he going to be back up there at the top end of the GT class overall?
Absolutely, we saw him get that first race victory for an AM car in the overall standings, of course. He's been on the podium 3 weeks in a row now in that overall standing, putting in some great performances. The crowned AM champion looking to make that margin even bigger. Going through the final corner then, we're about to get underway. Only 2.5 hours of racing left in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge for Season 11. And once again, for the 8th time in 9 races, it's Jeffrey Humes getting us underway. The lights go out here at the Nurburgring, and we're underway for 60 minutes of racing in Germany, and it's an easy lead into turn 1 for Humes. Nice pole position and a nice start for him. He's already got half a second over the field. Billy Smith, championship leader, does get up into second position, started from third but got the inside line and has got that place over Cameron Bidwell into turn 1. They all find their way through the Mercedes Arena for the first time as the GTs also get underway. Young Park trying to defend his inside line with Ryan Robertson diving down the inside of everybody there on the inside, just taking things easy though into what is a very narrow and tight and difficult first corner. Downhill, right-hander, can't really see where you're going, but everybody's got their way through nicely. It's a clean start for everybody, especially for the pole sitters who have got away quite well, removed themselves from the rest of the field.
Yeah, all very respectful through that turn one, because we know the Nurburgring turn one can be a little bit messy if everybody gets a little bit too ambitious, but the whole field there pretty sensible, and it's all line astern. We can see picture in picture the prototypes are just finding their feet now and getting into a pace, but there's nobody really pushing anybody at the moment. They're just all following through and trying to get everything up to temperature, get everything up to racing speed. But we can see Mo Islam this is Ryan Robertson just looking to move forward on the Lamborghini ahead, which is Mo Islam.
Yeah, it is indeed, looking to get that top three once more in this opening lap here back in the GT field. In the bottom right hand side you can see the LMP2s, both of the or 1 and 2 in the championship at least, have made progress on this opening lap. Billy Smith has, but he's going backwards now. Final corner and he's gone wide. Cameron Bidwell all too happy to slide down the inside, and other two rivals are going side by side down the home straight into turn one. Billy Smith thinking about making it 3 wide quite possibly on the inside of the first turn, but Kundinger needs this position more than anything here into the Mercedes arena. Is he going to be able to take it into turn 2? He does. Is Smith going to come back at him at the third turn though? Looking for him down the inside, he does go for it into turn 3. Kundinger has the inside for 4 though, and he's going to shove his car down the inside now as they still go side by side, battling out of the Mercedes arena, wheel to wheel into the next chicane as well, with Robbie Tinsey just watching on from behind. Smith holds on, but he will be ruining that mistake he made at the final corner, allowing Kundinger to have an opportunity to go through.
Yeah, absolutely great side by side, fantastic respect shown by all drivers there. But Bidwell's just back into second place and off up the road now, and this is all helping as if he needed any help. But Jeffrey Humes is clearing off into the distance while these guys trip over each other and battle away, because that is the slowest way around the track side by side. But yeah, as we go back now to this is Salmon in 5th place in the AM class in the Lamborghini, coming under pressure from Rozebun in 6th place behind him in the BMW.
Yeah, it certainly is. A little bit further down, the BMW was briefly side by side, but not able to go through as Tinsey is trying to go through into the fast final chicane against Kundinger there, but can't quite do it. And Kundinger having a great run through there. Smith maybe just take things a little bit easier through this final few corners, because this is where he came unstuck on the second lap. We go out onto the pit straight once more. Is there going to be a move from Kundinger here? Slipstream. He's gaining. He's showing the nose as well. Forces Smith to just put his car to the middle of the road. But he doesn't go through into turn 1. Stays behind just for the moment. This is a huge championship battle. At the moment it would go to the final race at Spa, but Kundinger would be leaving himself so much to do. At the very, very least today, he needs to beat Smith, whether that's by 1 position or 10.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just cutting back now to the GTs again, who are battling pretty close here, as we've got Ryan Robertson, I think, is it just away up the road, or is that, no, that's Williams, sorry, in the BMW. But just going back to Billy Smith though, we were saying he just needed an easy finish this evening. He's not taking the easy option, is he? The way he was racing Kundinger side by side earlier on, he doesn't want to give up any positions. He's racing every bit as hard as anybody who needs all the points, so mistakes can happen, accidents can happen, so Kundinger just needs to keep applying pressure, because if I was Billy Smith, I would, hand on heart, honestly, I'd be letting Kundinger go by, to be honest, and just looking at following him. I wouldn't battle too hard. I'd just look at bringing the car home to score some points.
Well, I think the problem is that behind Kundinger, all of the gaps are below a second down to 9th, so it would be very easy to just get shuffled back continuously if he let that begin to happen. So I think he's just holding off on trying to stay in front at the moment, just so that doesn't end up happening. But yeah, we'll see really how he begins to play it as this race goes on. Jeffrey Humes goes out to now 4.5 second lead. Billy Smith 1.5 seconds over or behind Cameron Bidwell at this stage. So he really is the cork in the bottle in that battle for third position, and of course we've got to think about traffic when that does indeed come around. These GTs just about halfway through the lap as these LMP2s make their way through the Mercedes arena for the 4th time of asking here in this race. So Going to be on the back of the GTs once again soon. However, it is going to be less of a factor than in recent weeks, I do think, because, as you've already alluded to, we do have less cars this time around.
Yeah, and the GTs are starting to spread out now as well, which creates its own opportunities for the prototypes to get past. It's always a lot easier to pass 1 or 2 cars than it is to pass 4 or 5 cars at once. So definitely they'll be glad to see that when they come round. But here's Slavnik in your favourite car, Ewan. We say it every week. The McLaren is on track, and to be fair, after the last outing, that's not a statement we use very often, because he spent more time off track, I think, last time.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can't remember who it was. I don't think it was Slavnik, was it? I can't remember.
It was a McLaren.
There was. Oh my goodness, that was a dive from somebody, Bradley Salmon, I think, down the inside, and it's not gone well. In the background, you can see it there, losing control almost. In the background going down to turn number 1. Not entirely sure what on earth went on there, but either way, we'll get another look here. Well, we'll get a look at something else first. Robert Cast in the Mercedes arena, watching a battle in front of him unfold, and he's going to get involved here. Ah dear. Goes for a bit of a spin, bit of a concertina there, and oh well, that is bizarre, but he's whatever works, I suppose. Cunningham pushing hard.
His J-turn skills there, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was weird. That's the kind of stuff that will get you disqualified. But anyway, he went for it. And this is what I was talking about with Bradley Salmon. Tries to go to the inside here, I think, but just loses the car. Oh, gets on the grass. There it is. And he's very... oh, my goodness. Everybody's very lucky there not to get hit.
Yeah, absolutely, and there wasn't much holding the brakes there, was he? He was looking to rejoin as quick as possible, so he was obviously he showed great awareness that there was nobody else following him into that corner, or he was just very lucky. I'll choose to say he showed great awareness.
Yes, I don't think there's a lot you can do at that speed to hold the brakes, really, but yeah, it is something you have to do. Downhill as well, of course, into turn 1, which doesn't make your life any easier. Billy Smith looks like he has weathered the storm from Carter Cunningham, and now Cunningham himself is falling into the traps of the 4-time LMP2 champion in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, Robert Tinsey. 29 victories to his name in this championship overall, not this season, lad, overall. And looking to apply the pressure to Cunningham now, who's dropped to over a second. This is Patrick McDaniel a little bit earlier on. In the Audi, and does exactly the same thing. This, I don't think everybody's going to get quite so lucky this time, but somehow they do. It is a bit weird this front here, because it's slightly kinked towards the braking zone there, and it's caught 2 drivers out in the first 5 minutes here. Yeah,
absolutely, but I tell you what, Jeffrey Humes, he was over 7/10 faster, I think, pretty much, or less, nearly a second faster than anybody else on that last lap, certainly a second faster than Cameron Bidwell in second place. So he's showing great pace out front, and the gap's already sort of round about the 10-second mark, so after 6 laps, that's astonishing.
It really is. 6.5 seconds after 9 minutes in this race. So out of the Mercedes arena come the front runners again. It's battle for third, if we can still include Billy Smith involved in this, or it is becoming Carter Cunningham's train. Not entirely sure, but Dan Nice is holding on with them. Dominic Dernenberg just loses the back end of this group a little bit as well. He's got Leif Peterson and Luke Carmody for company. And there's a bit of a battle going on at the front of GT Pro as well, with Paul Gibson, Young Park and Mo Islam 1, 2 and 3 at the moment. Don't think Ryan Robertson and Franco Margarello are too far away, but there's so many battles going on, it's hard to look at all of them, so apologies for that, because there are too many things going on. Tinsey is very close here though, and we saw this in qualifying. Oh, as we got Billy Smith. What has gone on here to the championship leader? Well, is he back again? He's dropping down the order still. I just wonder if he's disconnected at possibly the worst time. This is a replay of what happened. There are other cars just up in front, and I think he's disconnected. His car that is outrageously close to Cunningham getting involved, as well as Tinsey. I think Billy Smith has disconnected from this race, and all of a sudden this championship has turned on its head in the final 2 races. You couldn't script this, you absolutely couldn't. My goodness, Smith is going to be furious with that, but I'm sure he's disconnected.
It certainly looks that way, but whatever happens now, he's dropped down that leaderboard, and the championship, if Cunningham can bring it home in the top 3, is going to be pretty close when they get to Spa. It's going to be all to play for.
If it ends as it is right now, Cunningham would be 4 points behind coming into the final race. We were saying we've been saying this week after week, Cunningham's doing all he can. He's chipping away race after race at this gap, and he was doing so, but what he needs is something to go wrong for Smith. Obviously he wouldn't have been wishing that on anybody, but this is exactly what he needs. 4 points as it stands on the road. Now all he has to do is maximise this race, finish on the podium, and who knows what can happen over the course of 90 minutes at Spa.
Yeah, Spa, it's 90 minutes and a few pit stops. It's we've seen how pit stops can change things, and talking of pit stops, we've got some to come tonight, and that can shake the order up. As we've seen a few mistakes made, we've seen some guys have some really good pit stops. So just seeing the prototypes now threading the eye of a needle there and just managing to pass the GT cars relatively cleanly. As we're looking now at Dan Neese, still holding that 5th place and challenging Tinsley for 4th, hanging on to the back of him certainly, and he's looking to have a good result tonight, is Dan.
I think these two have had a difficult run through traffic actually, because Cunningham is all of a sudden 2 seconds up the road and he hasn't really gained anything on Cameron Bidwell. So I think these two have had a bit of bad luck in the traffic. But Dan Neese is putting in a good performance here. As I mentioned, he's really fallen off ever since those first 3 races where he was second, first and first. We were wondering if anybody could stop him, but in the end he was stopped. As I mentioned earlier, 5th place is his best result since then. That was at Motegi. And it's been a very disappointing campaign otherwise for him. 6th place at the moment in the standings, although David Shutt isn't here today, and so he might be able to gain back into that top 5 position. Although I just think he'll want to get to the end in the top 5. It's only the 2nd time he's done that since January, and it's a long time ago now, so I mean, he'll just be pleased to be in this position. I think we've seen a lot of bad luck for him in this season, and he'll just be pleased that some of it's coming to an end.
Yeah, absolutely. Look there, as you can just see left to right, getting through the cars. And that's Tinsley off. So that's Cunningham's other opponent, as one of the GT cars just goes a little bit sideways. Well, there, be good to see a replay of Tinsley to see what happened to him there. But Cunningham is the man with a bit of breathing room at the moment.
Nurburgring got involved in that as well, I think. He was off track briefly, or at least went off the road to avoid it, and he's out the race, is he? Well, he's towed back to pit lane, so he's clearly had a big incident there. But yeah, Tinsley trying to go through there, got off the road at the Schumacher S, and Dan Neese doing a bit of a slalom to get through.
Pitted as well.
Yeah, he's towed back to pit lane, Tinsley. So if Billy Smith can get back in the race quickly, there's 2 points on the line there. But this is what happened to Tinsley. Went down the inside of the Schumacher S, clipped the curb on the inside line, and ouch! He's got to hold the brakes there, I'm afraid, and Nurburgring had nowhere to go.
Yeah, and that's just how quickly these races can turn around. And what looked like a job too far, and I said it myself, I didn't think Cunningham was going to win this championship. How wrong I could be. I mean, at the end of the day, if he can bring it home, and that's a big if at this moment after seeing what we've just seen. But if he can bring it home in the top 3, like you say, if it finishes where it is now, he's 4 points behind, and all the pressure is on Smith to defend the championship lead.
The good thing for Smith is that there's no minimum amount of laps for you to score points. You just have to enter the race. Enter the race. You probably have to start the race, but you probably don't even have to complete a lap to get the points in this championship. So he will get a minimum of 7, no matter what happens today. His best drop round is currently 4 points, so he won't actually gain any in that respect. This is still better than his second worst result so far in this championship. As we go back to Leif Peterson here, what are we about to see here? Don't touch my McLaren, please. Down into turn 1. And he is going to touch it. Oh, Paul Slavinik. Well, I'm afraid I would argue that is Slavinik's fault. Peterson was down the inside, and he made it quite clear he was coming down the inside as well, but the McLaren just kept coming. As off the road, is that Peterson again? No, it's Cunningham. I think it's Conor Cunningham off the road. Well, what drama are we seeing today? off at turn 11 this time. And Cunningham, from a golden opportunity, all of a sudden has seen that go up in smoke, as we see Chris Sherburne going for a trip across the grass. But what is about to happen here to Carter Cunningham? What are we about to see?
It's all up in the air, isn't it? And Smith's having a second life here. I mean, Cunningham's still going, so yeah, just lost it, didn't he, there?
And he gets hit as well. He gets hit. I think that's Young Park who hits him. And Park himself has dropped down to 5th. There it is. There's not a lot you can do with the Porsche there. Just clipping the inside curb in a very similar way to Tinsey. Clipping the inside curb and going for a spin. How badly is that affecting Cunningham's car? How badly damaged is he? There is the prototype of Cunningham. He's side by side with Daniel Nunes here. Is he going to force this free wide? No. Oh goodness, he goes down the side of a couple of GTs, and now he's up to 6th position. So all of a sudden this championship changes all over again. He's only gaining 7 points today, which is half of what he was going to not 5 minutes ago. This race and this championship has turned on its head twice in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a close one, and I think we're going to have to stop doing the maths, Ewan, until the actual until they drop the checkered flag, because it's anyone's race tonight. I think Jeffrey Humes is controlling the front, but Dan Neese is now on that 3rd step of the podium, so he's gone from 5th to 3rd in a couple of laps. So yeah, I think Cunningham will, if he's not picked up too much damage and he can start fighting his way back, he may pick up another position or two. But even in 6th place, gaining the points he's going to gain, it's gaining points. And 90 minutes at Spa, as we keep saying, with the pit stops and everything, it's going to be difficult to have a clean race there. So it's not over. He's just making a little bit harder work for himself.
Now Trent Brown, what's going to happen here to him? Into turn 10, just goes in way too quickly and nearly rolls it. Goes for a bit of a spin. Can report as well further down the order that Billy Smith is back in the race now. He's returned once again. Ian Lake has disconnected from the GTs, but that won't matter too much. Dominic Durnenberg, I think, has called it a day. He has got too much damage to continue. Robert Tinsey is still repairing his car. Can he do it within the next lap, though, and get out in front of Billy Smith? Smith is about to gain 2 points if he can overtake both of them. Each position is a point up there. For Cunningham, each position is 2 points for every overtake that he can execute at the moment. So that is at least a positive for him. But Tinsey's on the pit exit already, and he's out and he's gone. He's got over a lap ahead of Smith as well. So Smith is going to gain 1 point and make his championship lead 11 going into Spa, I think. But at the moment, Tinsey is not going to be caught. Tinsey, of course, himself, Dundenberg is out of the championship, obviously, but Tinsey needs the points himself, so you can understand he coming out the pit lane, although that car is not how it came out the showroom at all.
No, it looked a little bit loose on the rear end there, and it doesn't look happy at all, does it? It's looking a little bit loose.
I don't know why he's exited the pit lane in that case, because his car's still ruined. I wonder if he's just cleared the meatball there and decided, well, I might be able to deal without the optionals here, but quickly figuring out that he can't. Billy Smith's going to unlap himself, hopefully, without problems. There he goes. So that's not a position just yet, but it is going to be soon.
Yeah, I think
so
Tinsey's looking for the pit entry, isn't he? He's wanting to try and make his way around safely to get back into the pits, but I think he's a bit of a lost cause at the moment.
Yeah, it's going to be another few minutes as well to look at that. That's more than 45 minutes of 45 degrees, I should say. Sorry, of steering angle there, and he's turning right to go around the left part of the Schumacher S there. That's rear end suspension damage, by the way. That's why it's behaving quite so unpredictably. Front suspension damage is always a lot easier to deal with to drive around. But if you ever pick up rear suspension damage in a race, you very rarely see anybody carry on with it, because it is a nightmare, as you're seeing here. You cannot keep it in a straight line. Every time you accelerate, all the angles start to change. Every time there's an undulation, the angles change. Front suspension damage is a lot more easy to deal with, and Tinsey decided that the best place for him to be is off the road. at the moment, and he might be right. That's going to be a few minutes, and it's another point for Smith, so he's going to be very pleased about that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, that's going to bring Smith another point, so he's going to be happy as we've just seen the McLaren trying to put a move. Is he putting a move on the Lamborghini, or is he defending from that Lamborghini? I think he's defending from it, isn't he?
Let's see. Well, they're not in the same category,
No.
which is what makes our life a bit more difficult. Bradley Salmon it is, who's behind him at the moment. As Tinsey, you can see it does come into the pit lane, and side by side between a couple of Audis here. Patching with Daniel. Oh, and off the run, Trent Brown again. Trent Brown is spinning around again. Out of the final chicane. That was David Parry also involved with Dale Green in that battle as well. It's all going on in the GTs as well. We haven't had much time to watch them just yet, but got a nice battle for the lead going on with Gibson and Islam, and further down there's stuff going on as well.
Yeah, a couple of battles to keep an eye on, but like I say, that battle for the first and second is got Islam there, and Robertson sat in third place overall, but first place of the AMS, he's sort of a further 4 seconds back from that battle for the overall GT class, but still a good performance from him. But it's looking like Mo Islam's keeping Gibson relatively honest at the front there.
He is, and of course Islam hasn't finished on the podium in the GT overall standings of any race yet, so this is new territory for him, and a race win would be very new territory. Not for Gibson, of course. He won our opener at Daytona and won at the Hungaroring as well, but he is mathematically out of this championship fight. Ross Booth, 5th place at the moment, set to be crowned champion, and pretty much is out on the road right now with the absence of Ryan Rozewski, so we'll hopefully get to speak to him after the race and get his thoughts. But yeah, what a bizarre race we've seen so far. I have to say, like you, I did think myself, Cunningham is going to have an exceptionally difficult time with things, getting anything really out of this season other than a second place. Thought he might even be looking over his shoulder at Tinsey, but now all of a sudden he has a very real opportunity as Dan Neese is on the podium.
Yeah, let's just probably a few minutes away from anyone making any pit stops yet, but I think once we see the pit stops come in and they all get safely back on track, that's when the real racing starts again, because they'll all settle down into the positions and see where they are in real terms, and get those pit stops out of the way. But Dan Neese, having a good race in third place at the moment. Here we've got Mo Islam, who's very much keeping Gibson honest, and not only keeping him honest, he's showing him the front end of that Lamborghini, letting him know he's there, and he's taking some wide lines, he's filling the mirrors of the BMW, and he's certainly applying some pressure for the overall lead of the GT class, the GT Pros.
I do like that livery that Mo Islam has got on at the moment, by the way, for that Lamborghini, which is very nice indeed. Paul Gibson trying to get rid of that in his rearview mirror. Really, it will be blinding him a bit, but struggling to get away for the moment. Hard to see these two battling too hard at this early stage. We are still in the first half of the race, and of course if they were to fight a little bit too hard, they would allow Ryan Robertson into the equation. He's only 3 seconds back, and they don't really want to allow any more cars to get involved with this, although Robertson himself is pushing quite hard here, because Franco Margrella, at only 1.5 seconds back, is giving him the biggest run for his money he's had for weeks.
Yeah, it'll make a pleasant change for him to see one of his fellow AM-class cars following him, really, and keeping him under a little bit of pressure. I think Robertson's still got quite a bit of breathing room there, with sort of a gap of about 1.5 seconds. He's, it doesn't sound a lot, but in racing terms it is. As we see picture in picture, Dan Neese, that's getting really tasty there, down there, almost side by side, I think, on the screen.
They were indeed. Oh, contact as well. Danny's still with the inside line coming into turn 6. He looks like he's going to have the position. And of Luke Carvenu, they were 3 wide ever so briefly with that GT3 as well, just trying to stay out of the way however it could. In the end it did, thankfully, and this battle continues on, but Dan Neese is fighting off Carvenu at the moment, or at least defending from the front 25 minutes into this race. And he's got a long race ahead of him, if indeed this is going to carry on. a nice battle between the two. Turns 10 and 11 now, and out onto the back straight once more. We're going to see a couple of GTs jump in front. I think that's Patrick McDaniel being one of them, or David Parry, not entirely sure. One of the two Audis running up towards the fast high-speed chicane. We're actually the problem for all LMP2s here. They have to go so slowly through this final chicane. It's going to possibly give the opportunity to Carbonu, is it? Inside line. Oh, and contact! There it is!
That's 3 cars off.
Dan Nice off into the gravel, so is the Porsche. Carbonu's off as well. Lee Peterson is getting on everybody, and he's up into third.
Yeah, Dan Nice isn't going to give that one up though. Now he's onto the back of Peterson into the slipstream, and he's going to go to the inside into turn 1. He's going to get that job done if he can get it stopped and turned, which he does. He's a little bit deep and he's a bit wide, and Peterson's back down the inside again. But yeah, Dan Nice just needs to calm himself down now. Just sit back on the rear end of Peterson, collect his thoughts, and have another go. He did the right thing. He attacked at the first opportunity, but just went a little bit too deep on the brakes there and gave the position back. But just needs to sit there now, keep the pressure on, and just chip away at him now, work away for this next lap, see if he can get back onto that podium spot, because I don't think he did much wrong in that incident. I think he was very much the innocent party.
Yes, I would agree. What a bizarre race this is, though. What a very bizarre race. Can't really do that. Certainly more of a misjudgment rather than going for something that wasn't really on or anything like that. But yeah, certainly ruined Porsche's race. So I couldn't identify which GT that was, but we'll get back to see it again here. As I say, I think Carbonu just outbrakes himself more than anything. I don't think he's attempting anything. He's not trying to go down the inside. He's not trying to force any ridiculous 3-wide manoeuvre. I think he just misjudges it, and rear ends Nice obviously sends him bowling into the Porsche there.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know that also plays into the hands of Cunningham, because it's slowed Carbonu down. It's allowed you know, that gap that Cunningham had to 5th place is now coming down sort of just around the 4-second mark, 4.5 seconds. So that's done him some favours and taking some time out of it for him. Yeah,
there it is. Dale Green was the GT driver involved in the AM category. Now drops down, I'm afraid, behind Trent Brown to become the last running GT3 in the field. Well, so the last running GT3. Not sure if Mo Islam's going to get back going again. Meanwhile, while we saw all that going on, Islam was in the pit lane. Disconnection for him as well. It was looking like his first podium, quite possibly, of the season, but it's not going to be. Disconnection, I'm afraid, for him on the last lap while all that was going on, and he drops way out down the back of the field. Meanwhile, Carter Cunningham is into the pit lane. I think he's had a bit of damage on his car, so pitted at the very earliest moment. We now know that everybody can make it to the end from this point onwards, and so Cunningham, making use of that, comes in right now, and he will be trying to put out some fast lap times while on the undercut from everybody else, who will come in about 5 minutes time.
Yeah, 20 seconds just over stationary for Cunningham in the pit, so he like you say, he'll be back out, as we're just watching a replay now of Slavonik in that McLaren.
Oh no, in the pit lane. Oh, and in the wall as well. Well, he might as well take his pit stop now, but didn't intend to. I think he's actually got some suspension damage as well, so probably would have had to anyway, but accidentally finds himself in the pit lane in the McLaren. And he will be in there for a little while, though. Might already be out, actually. See, yes, it was nearly a minute, so he did have to do some repairs, but not too many. Carter Cunningham's pit stop, only 20 seconds, so clearly not too much of a damage repair, if anything there, and he will be absolutely on it out of the pit lane.
Yeah, 20 seconds, pretty much the gap that Ooms has got over Bidwell in second place, so Jeffrey Ooms is just cruising round now to before the pit stops, and he's just got a massive gap now, so Jeffrey Ooms absolutely dominant performance. Dan Nice we're looking at here, he's just defending that 3rd place, but he's comfortable. I think he's extending the gap out now a little bit. It's only half a second at the moment, but I think Dan Nice has got the pace to hold that 3rd place at the minute, so it'll be interesting to watch him and see if he can extend that gap and just build up a bit of a cushion before he dives into the pits for his stop.
It's going to be difficult, really. Peterson is really sticking close to him, and this scrap for 3rd position is going to go on for the remainder of this race. We've gone over halfway, and we've had basically a season's worth of action in one race here. Championship leader Billy Smith disconnecting. Cunningham handed a golden opportunity and then having his own incident. This battle for third has been wild. That was quite wild as well, out the hairpin. Carbonneau and Nice coming together. Dale Green being an unfortunate bystander, getting up involved in the crossfire. Mo Islam on course for a first GT overall podium. And he's disconnected from it, I'm afraid, to give Paul Gibson the lead there. Ryan Robertson chasing him down for a second overall win in a row for an AM car. It really is bizarre these last few weeks in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, but it's the end of the season. What else can you expect?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, that GT podium's going to be 2 AM cars on the podium overall.
Was that the case at Imola? I can't remember. It might have just been Robertson on the podium.
But yeah, I mean, outstanding performance from both drivers to be up there and ahead of all the GT Pro drivers, and looking like they're we're only just over halfway through, so let's not spoil it. But looking like we're going to get 2 AM cars on that GT podium, so great job from those guys. Yeah,
Margarello has actually done a really good drive here, because we've spoken about all kind of week after week about how Ryan Robertson is flying away with these finishes. And Margarello himself hasn't been able to win an event. He's finished second and third twice out of the AM category cars on a couple of occasions, so he looks like he's on course for another second here, but this is by far the closest I can recall Robertson being pushed for a long time. Only 2.5 seconds after half an hour, very close.
Yeah, and it's looking like Dan Nice, he's I thought he had the pace, to be fair, to maybe extend the gap, but he hasn't. Peterson's doing a fantastic job of just hanging on to the back of him, and he's had that gap down to a couple of tenths at times. It seems to be averaging out around about half a second, but he's hanging on the back. He's not giving Nice any breathing space at all.
Yeah, early on, I thought Dan Nice did have good pace, and he was showing himself a little bit, but I think as this race has gone on, everybody else has even got into this race, or he's falling away. But he'll be hoping it's not a tyres thing, because they won't be changing in any of these cars for any of the season, really. You don't need to, over the length of races we have in this championship.
I think sometimes at this stage in the race as well, I think it's traffic also, as we see Peterson diving into pit lane now to take his stop. He's potentially looking like maybe, can I do the undercut on Dan Nice, but Dan Nice will be dealing with the traffic, and he'll probably come in the next lap or two to respond to that.
I would be responding the very next lap. I don't think he can go much further anyway. But I would certainly be in the next lap. Let's have a look at the pit stop times though for Peterson and Carbonneau, who are very close running down the pit lane there. Into the box they go. They both managed to brake on time, and then they'll be getting their service. Just nearly a full tank of fuel, or the full amount that you're allowed to take. If you've not been with us so far this season, of course, it's 90% fuel load. You're not quite allowed to brim the tank, but you are allowed to put it up to 90% if needed, but it's not quite needed for the remainder of this race. Peterson with only 21.5 seconds, and Luke Carbonneau's having a long stop here, nearly 30 seconds in that stop. Carter Cunningham's going to gain that place easily.
Yeah, it's another place for Cunningham, so that could potentially move him to around about 5th, I believe, overall. So once the pit stops shake out, so that's a good recovery drive from him. He's doing what he can do. Obviously, he had that mistake earlier on that's cost him some strong points, but he's chipping away again, and he's looking to have a solid result tonight.
I think third is very much still possible for him. Jeffrey Humes has nearly got a half-minute lead after half an hour, and Cameron Bidwell's nearly 10 seconds away from Dan Nice. But other than that, Carter Cunningham does have a chance here, I think. Dan Nice doesn't respond. He stays out again and decides to continue on for another lap. Cunningham, by the way, is only 1.5 seconds away from Peterson. He gained 3/4 of a second in the pit stops, but I think he's just been drilling lap times away from our cameras as well while on this undercut strategy. Let's hope he's fueled till the end. I'm sure he will be, but that's going to be one to watch later on. And there they go through the bottom of your screen as we go back to a battle in the AM category. One of the few Audis out here. David Parry trying to get through on Sean Rees at the moment for 7th place in the AM category. These guys quite a long way away from the next GT cars.
Yeah, absolutely. The GT classes are all, the cars are all pretty much spread out at the moment now. Obviously, unfortunately, with Mo Islam disconnecting, that was one of the closest battles in the GT class, and it was for the Pro class lead, which now Gibson sits comfortably there, holding from Park in second place in the Pro class. But overall, it's still Ryan Robertson in second place, but he's a fair way back at this moment in time, around about 3 seconds off Gibson. So Gibson's got a little bit of breathing room, but he can't afford to relax too much, because we know how hard Robertson can push, and he's got nothing to lose now because he's won the championship, so he can just go all out.
Yes, he can. As if he hasn't been doing that already all this season. he's been quite phenomenal. Either way, still having his being put through his paces by Franco Margrella today. Meanwhile, further back in GTM, these two continue to battle.
Yeah, Parry and Reese just giving us something to watch here as the Lamborghini trying to defend from the Audi, and two fantastic cars, and the Audi just holding a tighter line there and almost poking his nose where it's not wanted, and but coming out still line astern, still pretty safe, and the Lamborghini at the moment of Reese has just got everything covered, but I think that Audi it looks a little bit more nimble than the Lambo at the moment.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It is a bit more responsive, but it does have the massive drawback, of course, of being quite unpredictable and a little bit wayward sometimes in terms of the way it handles. Particularly not great over long distances. Haven't seen it win many iRacing 24-hour races, although it has done, of course, in the past. It was very dominant for a few seasons when the Audi and the Mercedes were brought out together, and they were by far and away the two best GT3 cars for quite some time. The Audi did win quite a lot and was arguably a little bit stronger if you could cope with it.
Yeah, Jeffrey Hume's our race leader in the pits now as well, so we'll see how he goes, how he fares with his pit stop.
We certainly will. His lead was slashed a little bit actually in those final couple of moments. On that final lap, wasn't the strongest, but could have just been Cameron Bivell going a bit quicker. We'll probably see him, Dan Neese, Daniel Nunes and Chris Sherburn probably all in here. Bidwell is in. You'd imagine that these guys are reaching the very limit of how far they can go on fuel here. But Ooms could probably change tyres and still win this race from here. That is how big he has got of a lead in this race so far. 19 seconds is the stop. It's the shortest so far. He'll be on his way, and on his way to another victory here in this championship. It will be his second in a row and fifth in this 10 weeks that he's been in this championship now. Dan Neese makes his way into it. Oh, he doesn't quite make it into his box. Stops slightly short, and that will cost him maybe a second. With Peterson and Kundinger in such close attendance, that could prove quite costly. Cameron Bidwell's pit stop time is fairly normal there at 20 seconds. What about Dan Neese though? He's 19.4 as well. It's a bit shorter than Peterson and Kundinger, so he should make it out in front, and he will do by quite some distance. In the end, Dan Neese has a nice little buffer there. You can see about 3 seconds, 2 seconds it's going to be when this gap normalises. Despite making a mistake, stopping in his box, Dan Neese has still got a nice lead here.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan Neese, it looked like he'd fluffed that pit stop, but obviously ran a bit longer, needed to take on less fuel to get to the end of the race, so he's gained it back there, and it normalised with a 19.4 second, absolutely matching Jeffrey Hume's stationary time in the pits. The two fastest, well, I was going to say the two fastest pit stops, but Chris Sherburn 19.37, so he's shaded it for the quickest pit stop time in the prototypes. But Dan Neese back in that third place, and I would say comfortable, but he's not that far up the road from Peterson.
No. The pressure will be on till the very end, you would imagine. As we see Bradley Salmon and Robert Cast battle it out here. These two have not pitted yet, neither of them. I've seen David Parry and Sean Rees continue their battle into the pit lane on our cameras there. But for the most part, the GT3s have not gone into the pit lane. And meanwhile, David Parry has got through in the pit lane. The Audi making its way through on the Lamborghini. through a slightly better pit stop. It was, 1.7 seconds quicker, and that was the difference in the end between the two. Are we going to see something similar in GT3 at the front of the field? Gibson, Robertson, Margrella, Kupka all in the top 4. Ross Booth carries on, so does David A. Williams, but difficult to see the lead really changing hands in GT3 at the moment. Paul Gibson does look in control, despite being run fairly close at the moment by Ryan Robertson. The gap is still 3 seconds. That kind of margin is too big really to be overturned in one pit stop.
Yeah, my eyes are on the interval time for Cunningham against Peterson, because that gap's down to 2 seconds, and it's staying round about there now, but we know how quickly that can change, not necessarily on race pace, but just on the fact of coming up against the GT cars and lapping them. You can have a good run or a bad run, and you have a bad run and you can soon shave away 2, 3, 4 seconds of anybody's time. So it's going to be close, and it's going to be worth watching that interval and seeing how it fares with Peterson and Cunningham.
It certainly is. Into the hairpin for Ross Booth here, who is the new leader in GT3 Pro, ever so briefly, and in the overall. David A. Williams is not too far behind him. You can see in the BMW there. Started the season, well, he is teammates to Ryan Robson, still is, but started the season as an LMP2 driver, trying to defend his crown from season 10. But when that started to turn sour, he moved over, and I believe he was there for Imola as well. For the last couple of rounds, he's been a GT3 driver. This is the battle for the GT3 AM lead between Ryan Robertson and Bradley Salmon. But Salmon is yet to make a pit stop. Robertson has a nearly 6-second lead. He is not going to get involved here in any incidents, although he's flashing the lights here, does want to get a move on, doesn't want to sit around and wait to get swamped by everybody from behind, so does want to get going here. But it's not really a battle for the lead that we can really get too excited about. Bradley Salmon should be coming into the pit lane. If not this lap, then must be the next one.
Yeah, won't be going too much further before he pits, but he's gone now. In fact, he's just got entered the pit lane, and he'll be looking for that limiter now, and he'll be getting that pit stop done.
He does indeed. And Ryan Robertson retakes the lead. The GT3 AM champion crowd, with 2 rounds still to go, currently has a 118 point gap over Trent Brown that is only going to get bigger today. As into the pit lane, or out of the pit lane I should say, comes our GT3 Pro champion in waiting. This is quite a close battle between everybody. Ross Booth out in 3rd. Kupka out of the top 3. As he battles with David A. Williams coming out of the pit lane there. You can see it in the background. For whatever reason, he's lost a bit of time here. 17 seconds worth of a pit stop. Ross Booth did 3 seconds quicker, so not entirely sure why, whether Booth was underfueled or Kupka's overfueled. But being on the safe side does have its drawbacks, of course, and Kupka on the very, very safe side by the looks of things, and he's actually lost a podium place because of it.
Yeah, definitely. He's lost that position, and he's lost it big time, because Booth is relatively safe up the road there, and around about 1.2, 1.3 seconds up the road. That's a good gap to manage, and we know how quick Booth is as well, so, and consistent. So he'll start putting the lap times in now, and looking in the last sort of 15 minutes or so of this race, just to manage that gap and bring it home in 3rd place. Pretty happy. I think he'll be with his 3rd place.
Yes, certainly will. Booth obviously going to be crowned champion at the end of this, probably already is mathematically, but he'll be looking for a strong result anyway. Ryan Rozewski not here unfortunately today, GTD champion from last time out, not going to be doing that again. Ross Booth was it was called GTLM at the time, GTE champion last season. He's going to be champion of something else this time around, GT overall. Not entirely sure how we're going to classify these seasons in terms of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. I've got a sheet next to me of previous champions. LMP2 obviously is pretty easy to work out. I know there's been different iterations with the HPD and then the Dallara. obviously the GTEs as well, which is a bit of a dying out, but this GT3 Pro and Am is something we're going to have to put into a subcategory these days for Rosberg. Still going to feel just as good as it did last season, though. It doesn't really, we can't really say he's defended his title because there isn't a title to defend for Boog this season, but being champion 2 seasons in a row is not bad going.
Yeah, absolutely, and is that Booth just coming across some traffic there, and the Lamborghini getting right out of the way and almost off the track just to let him through, and again moving over to the right to let Kopka through, and Williams, and yeah, looking good in the 3rd place is Booth at the moment, and he's just driving his lines, and he's just putting the lap times in now, and I think he's going to bring that home, because I think Kopka's got more on his plate. He's thinking more about defence at the moment than he is attacked, that's for sure.
Goodness me, he is. David A. Williams is very close behind into turn 10, even sticking his nose down the inside, that huge BMW nose looking on the inside, but not able to get down the inside on that particular occasion, and this is all allowing Ross Booth to get away in GT3. Car just trying to hold off at this stage from Williams. Doesn't seem to be too bad in the BMW, despite only joining a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, just casting my eyes forward as well to the Cunningham-Peterson situation, and the gap had come down to just under 2 seconds, but again I think traffic's playing a part at the moment because he's gone back up now to 2.3, 2.4, so Cunningham's maybe having the bad run of the traffic at the moment, but Peterson is now he's just within 2 seconds of Dan Neese ahead as well, so this could very, very quickly in the last sort of 12 or 13 minutes of this race turn into a 3-way battle for that final step of the podium.
It really could, and it almost is in GT3. I know Booth is getting away, but Kopka and Williams are nearly going side by side everywhere. I think Williams had another look into turn 1. And through the Mercedes arena, but still not able to get through. Cunningham and Peterson almost matching each other across the line that time. So not much to be gained or lost there. But Neese did get a couple of attempts, and here we are with the battle in GT3. So close. He's so good at this end of the circuit, Williams. You remember back to last lap through the Schumacher S, he was practically pushing this Porsche up the hill afterwards, even looking on the inside line into turn 10. Not quite as close this time, but might try and fake him. Fake one side and then go down the other. Has a smoother run through 10, outside for 11, although Kopka's still able to get his nose across, and the nice line into turn 11. Now what has gone on there? Kopka and Williams make slight contact. Surely they can't both have simultaneously disconnected. They're both out, but they just made contact on the entry to there. I just wonder, surely they haven't reached the incident limit. They both made contact at the same time, which would have given them, I don't know, what would that kind of contact give you? Maybe 2x, 1x, don't know, but enough x. I don't know, I didn't know the incident limit would disqualify you in this series. I thought it would be a drive-through, but I think they could well both have been disqualified for incident limit there. It would be an unbelievable coincidence if they're both disconnected.
Yeah, I think more likely that there's the incident limit there, and for them both to disconnect simultaneously like that when they're both battling away, it's got to be something like that. But that's a real shame there, because that's just taken away a fantastic battle that we were looking at, and it's just looking at Cass now on in 4th place in the AM class. And he's running around in that beautifully coloured Porsche, just relatively safe at the moment, and just looking to bring it home. We have only got just over 10 minutes to go as we're looking at the prototypes coming through now, and that's Cunningham we're looking at in 5th place, and he's looking at he's looking at Peterson in 4th place to try and catch him, and the traffic's been a little bit kinder to him this time, and he's closed that gap right down, but they've both closed the gap down to Dan Neese as well. So this is shaping up to be a showdown in the last 5 minutes or so if they keep going like they are. But let's not forget traffic works in mysterious ways, and it works both ways. As we see there, Cunningham just getting held up by that Porsche, and that's going to cost him. That has cost him around about 6-7 tenths there. So that prime example of what can happen when you come across the traffic and you hit it just wrong.
Yeah, we've just seen in that half a lap there only 2 cars to pass because of the relative lack of traffic compared to previous weeks, certainly, but they both played into the hands of both of those cars in different ways. A little bit further down, Daniel Nunes and Chris Sherburn are battling over 7th position in this race, but yeah, that was a fight going on a little bit further up, between those two. Billy Smith, by the way, is out of the race again here. I think he might have disconnected again. And now he's down to 10th position because Tinsey is still in. But that's not going to revive Tinsey's championship hopes, I'm afraid, in this one. So that is unfortunate for him. Tinsey is now out of the running and looks like he's going to finish 3rd in Season 11 of Autobahn Sportscar Challenge as he aims to once again try and get back to winning ways in this championship after many seasons of even winning a race. He's not won a championship since Season 6. Billy Smith and Carter Cunningham, though, could very well win the championship of their own. At the moment, as things stand, the gap will be 9 points between the two of them. Cunningham, though, can see 4 points up the road right now as we look at this battle into turn number 1 a little bit further down.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Cunningham, he just wants to bring it home where he is, really. Just keep, pushing, pick up the positions if he can. Obviously, more points, make it easier at Spa, make it closer at Spa. But he's still going to be scoring good points, and I would bet you any money that if you'd have asked him at the beginning of this race how many points he expected to haul back on Billy Smith, it wouldn't be as many as he's going to.
Yeah, we're all scrambling, by the way, to find out quite what happened to Kopka and Williams. I'm going to search for anything that we can to find. I'm looking for the rules. It's been long time since I read them for the start of this series. To make a few notes, but put the incident limit was not one of them because I didn't think it was going to be a thing, or I didn't think it was going to be a factor, I should say. But it's turned into one in GT3 today, somewhat bizarrely. So there we are, a new one on me. A very bizarre one. It's just been a bizarre race, a very enjoyable one, but possibly the most chaotic of the season. Chaotic, maybe the wrong word, but certainly just weird and bizarre and all kinds of drama in all kinds of directions. It has been a bit weird.
That's all because we were talking this racetrack up at the beginning, saying that it was probably going to be relatively easy for the guys to get past each other, and I think we've maybe just cast a spell on it, and it's a bit of bad luck for the drivers because there's been quite a few little collections and incidents, and some incidents of the drivers' own doing, all on their own and spinning out, but yeah, definitely a few incidents that potentially could shape that prototype championship.
Down the inside for Chris Sherburn, trying to make his way through on Daniel Nunes here for 7th. Inside line for Nunes, though, and he stays in 7th, into turn 3. No way through, although a lock-up, and Sherburn is going to be fancying his chances, but will not be able to get through. Further up, Cunningham is as close as he's ever been to Peterson, and Dan Neese, as you say, is struggling as well. So that battle for 3rd might look like it will reignite in the final 6 minutes of this race, but Cunningham is really running out of time. I have to say, though, the difference between being 9 points back going into the final race and being 5 points back is fairly psychologically significant.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is massive. Obviously, you want that gap as small as possible, and gaining that many points, it allows you to put pressure on. I mean, at the moment, Billy Smith, he can still obviously afford to finish behind Cunningham in the race at Spa, but it's a case of how far behind he's gonna, how much of a margin he's gonna have over Cunningham that's going to decide that, and Cunningham's going to be keen to try and get that 4th place at the very least from Peterson, but he'll also have an eye on that 3rd place of Nice. But like you say, he's running out of time with 5 minutes left. That's a big ask to get 1 place, let alone 2.
There he is running out of time, and I'm afraid Chris Sherburn ran out of grip going into turn 10 there, and this battle, I'm afraid, is over for 7th position. Dan Nunes has made his way through. This certainly is not, my goodness. It's all of a sudden got very close indeed. For whatever reason, Dan Nunes is getting caught towards the end of these stints as the fuel burns down. That car gets light. He does fall backwards ever so slightly, or has done at least in this race. Peterson making a little bit of contact even with one of the BMWs going through the hairpin. I think that might have been Franco Margrella from second position in GTM. We go on board with Peterson though. Can he get through on Dan Nunes, who's looking for that first podium since round 3 at Mid-Ohio? At Bossport, I should say, not Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, absolutely great camera angle here from the onboard, the rollbar cam of Peterson, and he's looking ahead, and we can just see it's the gap. I believe the gap very much has been coming up and down due to the traffic, and now they're in a bit of clear air for the next sort of half a lap or so, and it'd be interesting to see. But that gap very much, these three are all within a second of each other, so it's close enough to be within the slipstream, and it's going to get a little bit tighter as they go into turn 1 here, I think.
Now, we do have the incident limit up on the left-hand side, you can see there, or the incidents for the drivers. Nico Kopkol's got 19 there, which is a fair amount, but Smith's got 20. David A. Williams for 15, so it can't be incident limit. The only thing, we've eliminated that possibility. Oh, that's just off tracks, that's not car contact. Ah. Well, okay. Well, I thought we might get a better view after seeing that, but I'm actually more confused. so I really don't know now. Make your own minds up at home, really, as to what's gone on there, because I am none the wiser at all. Meanwhile, Cotter Gunninger not worrying about any of that. He's got to look over his shoulder here as well, because Luke Carboneau's not too far behind here, and he doesn't want to lose out on points. Obviously he wants to gain some, but he doesn't want to lose out, and you can see, looking back here, the shark fin of his LMP2 certainly damaged from the contact he had earlier on.
Yeah, absolutely. He won't want to have to start defending either, because that's going to stop him from looking forward at Peterson. Yeah, traffic again coming into play now, as I think Peterson got a little bit held up there, but Cunninger's got past fairly easily, so he's closed that gap right down to within 3/10 again, and he'll be looking to hang on to that through the final turn here, and maybe try and get into the slipstream and dive into turn 1. I don't think he's really close enough to force Peterson to defend, but we will find out. He's just under half a second back, and I don't think that's close enough.
Doesn't look like it. Brakes very late into turn 1, and we could well be at, well, it depends. Jeffrey Humes is so far in front of everyone here. Who knows how many laps there are remaining. I think there's going to be 2 remaining for these guys at the moment. We'll wait and see. Yes, it looks like it will be 2. Humes is about to start his final lap. He's in the final sector, remarkably. That's how much over the field he has at the moment. But these guys are on their penultimate lap as things stand. Peterson closes to Dan Nunes. When the traffic goes away, he is quicker than Nunes just up in front, and he's going to want 3rd just as much as Cunninger is going to want 4th here. You can just see from that shot there as well, there is a bit of evidence of damage on the back of Cunninger's car. He'll be ruining that mistake from earlier on, because it's a case of what could have been for him. It could have been an easy podium, in inverted commas, if that mistake hadn't happened, obviously, in the first 20 minutes of this race.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's doing a great job with a damaged car to be battling here for in the fight for what is 4th place and potentially 3rd place. But he is coming under more and more pressure now from that car behind, and it's going to keep him very honest now, and he's going to have to defend. I think for the final lap, that gap has done nothing but get smaller. So it's now within 2/10. So yeah, he's very much going to have to start defending.
Well, everybody's attacking and defending in this group now. They come through the final corner for the penultimate time and begin their final lap. Dan Nunes has got a couple of car lengths over Peterson, who doesn't really have much room to breathe ahead of Cunninger, and blame goes for him in relation to Luke Carboneau. Down into turn 1 they go, and there's going to be no move made. Very late on the brakes for Peterson, possibly too late, because he goes a little bit wide through into the Mercedes arena for one final time. Is there going to be any opening for anybody on this final lap? There is a bit of traffic, and Peterson already thinking about going on the defensive here. 2 points on the line for Cunninger here if he can get through. But of course 2 points lost if he lets the car behind through, and there's battling lap cars going on up in front. Meanwhile, further round the circuit, Jeffrey Humes is going round to take his second win in as many weeks. There he goes. It's dominant at the Nurburgring for Humes. He crosses the line with seconds, 41 of them to spare. His 5th win of the season in just the 10 races that he has, or 9 races indeed, that he has competed in so far. A little bit further down, it is all going on. Cunningham needs these points. He's going to try any which way he can to get them into the Schumacher S and out of it for the final time, where things all went wrong a little bit earlier on for his championship rival Robert Tinsey. What's going to happen now into turn 11, where things of course went wrong for himself a few laps ago, about 40 minutes ago. Through that corner now and into the final chicane for the final time and the final corner. Is there going to be a last gasp move? All behind Cameron Bidwell, of course, who comes home second. Dan Neese looks like he's going to get a podium, but can Cunningham make this move? He's looking and can't get it done because Peterson goes to the inside line to defend, but will he get the switchback line? He's going to try for the exit. It's a run to the line. It's almost a photo finish, but it's not enough. Cunningham has to settle for 5th, but he will mark this down as a good day's work as he limits Billy Smith's margin to just 9 points heading into the final 90 minutes of the season.
Yeah, absolutely, and I tell you what, I think that slipstream that Cunningham was getting off Peterson helped him to defend that 5th place as well, because he was coming under some serious pressure from Cabernet in that 6th place, and I think without that slipstream from Peterson he may well have lost that 5th place.
A little bit further down, Paul Gibson holds off Ryan Robertson for the win in GT Pro overall, and GTM, of course, goes to Robertson himself. Ross Booth is going to be one of the final drivers to cross the line and meet the checker flag, as he does now, and in so doing becomes the GT Pro champion in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge here for season 11. 2 of our 3 champions have been decided before the final race at Spa, but LMP2 is about as close as it ever has been between Billy Smith and Carter Cunningham. One of them tried to become the champion for the 2nd time in 3 seasons. Another trying to become champion for the very first time. I think only 2 wins to his name in all time. Ryan Robertson, though, has certainly more than that, and another one could be chalked up today. GTM victory for him, and a Franco Margrello and Luke Schmidt, who was 30 seconds back. Robert Castanchero and Rosenberg were next ahead of David Parry and Sean Rees, who were battling for most of the day. Dale Green, of course, got involved in that incident with Carbonu midway through that race. Bradley Salmon and Trent Brown round out your top 10, with Ian Lake finishing many laps down. GT Pro was won by Paul Gibson, as he did at the first race of this season. Young Park on the podium again in 2nd. Ross Booth crowned champion from 3rd. Patrick McDaniel in his first race, I think his first race in GT Pro, finishes 4th ahead of Niku Kopkar, who had that bad luck towards the end, as did David A. Williams. No idea what happened to those two, but they finished 5th and 6th. Paul Slevenik, Bo Islam and Mark Kudrowski also didn't make it to the flag. Finally in LMP2, it's Jeffrey Humes who takes another win, and possibly his biggest yet. 40 seconds to Cameron Bidwell, who also had a very lonely race. Dan Neese held off everybody to finish 3rd. He was ahead of Peterson, Cunningham and Carbonu. Daniel Nunes held off Chris Sherburn as well for 7th. Robert Tinsey soldiered on, I should say, for those points, but he is now out of the championship fight. He finished 9th, and the championship leader, Billy Smith. Dominic Turnenberg didn't get to the flag either. He finished 11th. Well, that is it from us here at the Nurburgring in terms of on-track action. Let's talk to the drivers after that race then, shall we? Because it certainly was another interesting one, and another one in where Ryan Robertson has taken victory. Let's go through GTM first and work our way up. Ryan, good to have you with us here once again. Pressure off coming into these final 2 races, of course, given you've already clinched this championship, and you did look indeed as strong as ever out there. Couldn't quite get that win though. How was the race overall?
It was pretty good. I had a couple incidents where we had to slow down and like a little half spin that lost me a couple seconds, so I was playing on the back foot for most of it and just clawing back like a 1/10 of a second to Paul every lap, and just ended up pushing a little too hard and couldn't close that gap in the final lap or 2. But I mean, for as little practice as I did, I'll take a P2 overall.
Absolutely, and thinking about a couple of weeks' time, it's a last hurrah for you, I guess, in this, well, for everybody, but certainly for you, it'll be a bit more relaxed again. What are you expecting from that final extra long 90-minute race at Spa?
I'm not expecting too much. I mean, I'm hoping to close it out with an AM win, just to kind of put a T at the top of the season, but just to have fun. I mean, this race was a blast, and just kind of playing that chase game, and 90 minutes at Spa is always a good time. So I'm excited.
Absolutely, we look forward to seeing you there, Ryan. But for now, congratulations on yet another victory in GTM, and thanks for coming to join us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much, Ryan Robertson there, GTM winner once again. In GT Pro, it was Paul Gibson's day on this occasion, another BMW victory. Paul, welcome to the booth. It's good to have you here. How was that race overall? You had obviously challenges from the likes of Young Park and Moisland, but you ended up holding them all off. Obviously, issues for some others did help you out, but you drove well to hold them all off in the end. How was the race overall?
I'm glad it's only an hour long, because I think Ryan Robertson was going to be on my back bumper there another couple laps. So we didn't we did like very, very little prep for this race, and it kind of showed. Our race pace was just not very good. Our qual pace was really good, but race pace wise we were just off. So I'm glad that it worked out. We had a couple. Those other guys had some issues with either internet or something else. So it opened door for Robinson to get right back up to me. So I'm glad it was only 60 minutes instead of 90, because I was sitting duck there.
Yeah, and speaking about the season as a whole, I know it's not over yet. We still got one race to go, but are you pleased with this season? I think it's your third victory. This one here, it is indeed third victory of the season for you. I believe you'll be moving up to second in the championship as well. Are you pleased with how it's gone?
Yeah, definitely. First year in the Autobahn. I think it's gone pretty well. I think what really hurt me in the championship was the lawn. I didn't get through the first corner there, and then the disconnect at the last race really kind of hurt me, because I used my 2 throwouts for when I was on vacation, so I didn't really have anything to give. So I think Ross has got this all sealed up well and done. I think it's over. So yeah, definitely congrats to him.
Yeah, it certainly is, but second place in the championship is not a bad place to be, certainly, and obviously race winner today as well, so congratulations on that. We look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks' time, but for now, congratulations and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for broadcasting and doing what you guys do.
Thanks very much. Paul Gibson from the GT overall victory there. It doesn't look like we've really got anybody from LMP2 joining us, nor Cunningham, who's normally here, Ooms as well. So that's unfortunate for them. We won't get to chat to them. However, we do have Luke Carbonet waiting around. He's muted. I'm slightly concerned he's not there, but we'll give it a go. Shall we? If we can hear from Luke now. Is he? Are you with us? Yes.
Yep, I think so.
Yes, we can indeed hear you. Luke, welcome to the booth. 6th place for you here on this race. It was a very intense fight for the win. For 3rd place towards the end of that. There, are you a little bit disappointed you weren't maybe able to make up a couple of places and those final few laps, or was it just too difficult in the end?
Well, to be honest, I totally missed the qualifying session. So I was on a good lap and I just exit the simulator by error, so that cost me maybe 4 or 5 places on the grid at starts, and I have to work really hard to come back behind that nice. We have a really nice fight, and I just look up the brakes and the tires in the last corner and I hit him. Got a 10 seconds repair, optional repair. I take it because I was seeing that I was really more slow in the straight, so I take the repair, and that's where it's bring me in the fight at the end of the race.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate incident in the end. I mean, speak about this season as a whole with you as well, because we're not quite over with this season yet. We've still got Spa to come, but how has this season been for you overall? You've had a couple of podiums, not been able to get a race victory, but are you pleased with how the season has gone as a whole?
To be honest, no. I was expecting a better result than where I am now in the championship. in the standings, and also I missed few races that I didn't want to really race there, so I could have been better, but I got some other national championship decided, so I just decided to focus on the national championship and come here when the racetrack are really more funny for me.
Absolutely fair enough, and we hope to see you as well in a couple of weeks' time for the finale at Spa. But for now, we'll let you go, Luke. It's been good to have you here. Congratulations on 6th place today, and thanks for coming to talk to us.
Thanks, and good job for good work at the play-by-play, and also have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you very much, Luke Carmanu, 6th place on the day here at the Nurburgring in LMP2, and indeed overall. That's just about going to do it for us here today. Then, Steve, another great race here in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. 13 down, just 1 to go. 90 minutes at Spa. The big story today, of course, Carter Cunningham has pretty much halved that championship advantage. It's only 9 points, and it's quite well poised now heading into the final race.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I would have liked to have seen it a little bit closer. So would Carter, I think, Carter Cunningham. But I think he's gained more than he ever expected to tonight. So looking forward to Spa. 90 minutes. That's going to throw up some incidents, accidents, and a few pit stops as well. So I think there'll be the story's not finished yet. Like you say, the GTs have got nothing to race for now. They're all just out there for pride and pleasure. It's all down to the prototypes to try and keep it clean. And what is a long lap at Spa as well. Let's not forget, it's a long way around that track. And there's several corners, not to mention Eau Rouge, where we see incidents and accidents. So it's going to be a good one to watch, and I hope everybody tunes in, and I hope we get a decent grid full of cars to put on a good show for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Over 7 kilometres around there, and a 90-minute race as well. It's going to be a long one, but it's going to be a fun one indeed. Billy Smith only needs a top 5 to clinch the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge for season 11, but judging by how things have gone today, that is no foregone conclusion whatsoever. Make sure you join us in a couple of weeks' time for that race. We'll have it live from you. From Spa, of course, as always on Monday, the 23rd of May, which is coming up there. Exactly 2 weeks' time, same place. But that is not all for us here at the Virtual Grip Network, of course. The next broadcast is coming up on May the 13th. It's the PRO Super Late Model Series live from Lanier. So make sure you join us for that 9 PM ET here for that one. But for now, that is it from us here at the Virtual Grip Network. Thanks very much to everybody who's been tuned in tonight. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Steve Proudly, and until we see you again in 2 weeks' time for the finale at Spa, it's goodbye for now.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nurburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.